spectacular. The two of you have collaborated on 4 films. Mo Better Blues, He Got Game, Inside Man, and the film we're going to watch tonight, your 70mm print of Malcolm X. And I want to ask you both if you would talk about what inspires you about each other. Denzel, you're directing now. You've been
in
directing.
theory. Nah, he's a director.
You are a director. Are there things that you take from working with Spike in terms of the way that you approach directing?
I steal shots? Yes. Well, I tell you what you do is appreciate. Once I was basically kind of forced to direct, I had to like, okay, I know, put the best around me, look at the best, see what they've done, how they do it, and then I started looking at what Spike was doing. You know, I was like, okay, now I'm looking at the film in a different way as opposed to, you know, looking at something I was in. I turned the sound down and look at how he put it together, and you know, began to understand how difficult it is.
Well, with Denzel, I mean, he's a force of nature, and his concentration is immense. And collaborating with D on Malcolm X was mesmerizing. And I'm gonna tell the story, D. There's a scene, all the speeches in this film you're about to see were the actual words of the brother Malcolm. And there's a scene, we had like 5,000 extras. And it's a scene where Wynn had this big, Wynn Thomas, production on, had this big mural of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, played by the great late Al Freeman Jr. And we were shooting film. So that means that this was not digital, where you could just shoot an hour. You know, we had 10 minutes. 35 minutes, 10-minute max. So I'm standing next to Ernest. Great.
Ernest
Dickerson. And D is lightening up. And my script supervisor says, you know, she's pointed to me like, we're about to roll out. And Ernest is saying, Spike, we're about to roll out. I said, Ernest, do not turn this camera off. And finally, 8 minutes, the script was, I mean, the words for the scene were done. But the final 2 minutes, and this is no bullshit, excuse my language, I've never ever seen anything like that in my life. And Ernest said, Spike, we rolled out. I went up to D, and his eyes had glazed over. I said, D, just looked at him. He said, Spike, I don't know what I said. And this is where Denzel's intelligence comes in. Because Denzel, he started preparing for this role a year out.
10 years out, brother.
What?
10 years. Not a year out. You know, look at years out.
It was a year.
A year out with you. With you a year.
Yeah, and
because you had been in a play.
Right.
Playing Malcolm.
10 years before.
And
technicality, a little technicality.
No, I'm sorry.
and then he said, you know, he learned how to read the Quran, speak some Arabic, pray in Arabic, stop eating pork, no alcohol. And what I understood was that this cannot be an impersonation, and you have to have your vessel, your body, your soul correct, so the spirit of Malcolm.
Now you talking.
And that is what I saw. It was the spirit because I've seen, I'm not naming no names, but a biopic is more than just sounding like the person, makeup, hair.
Go on, name a name. You can't help you.
I'm not.
Don't name no name.
I'm not. I just said I'm not. That's what I said, D. But that scene, and everybody who was there that day says the hairs in their arms were standing straight up. And this before, I don't know, many of you have seen it before, but you probably haven't seen a 70mm print because this is only the second time it's being shown. The first time was the Ziegfeld for the premiere. After that, it's been on ice at the Eastman Kodak archive place in Rochester, New York. So, thank you for coming out because this is a big, big, big treat.
Thank you. Spike, I want to ask you though, you know, you're in this film and you appeared in your early films. So what was it like to act with Denzel Washington, given what you just described?
I remember he got game. He said, "Spike, you're not in this film." He said, "That's enough, Spike. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough."
Frazier's
Also, when I said I was scared to send Denzel the script if he got game, so I finally got enough courage to send it to him. He called me back like a couple days later and said, "Spike, did you write this?" I said, "Yeah, I wrote it." Right. But the first film, She's Gonna Have It, you know, we didn't have any money, so I'm glad I did it because that's how I got hooked up with Michael Jordan and all those Jordan commercials because that's where the character Mars came from.
If we could go to the next slide, you know, there's a corner of your gallery that has a few items relating to Malcolm X. It's gonna come up any second. There we go. Like this beautiful hand-painted poster.
Well, let me start first.
Yes, please. Wait, what?
Go back to the slide, please.
It's coming. There we go.
So you're gonna see the opening credits. It's an American flag, and the flag catches on fire, and it turns into a X, and that's it. A great portrait of D. Also, in Ghana, they paint the movie posters. So someone gave me that. In Ghana, they paint the movie posters. And Jackie Robinson, Kaepernick.
Rest in power, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, that's signed. And then at that Time magazine, that's signed by Thelonious Monk. So there's a lot of stuff we have.
It's amazing, amazing.
Oh, I wanted D to play Jackie Robinson, and then he said, "I'm too old, Spike.
I can't slide, Spike. I can't slide. The days is over. How long ago was that? That was a long time ago.
Long.
Looking at that poster reminds me of just the global interest, impact of this film. Black people in particular all over the world were waiting for the film. Some waiting with excitement, some waiting with skepticism, right? You have both talked about the pressure that you felt on this project.
We used to have, I don't know if you remember this, D. We used to have
to leave the country.
We used to have every day in the morning say, "You got your passport?" "Yeah, just in case we had to slip out of the country under the cover of darkness. That's how we greet each other every morning.
What they tell you in Chicago, you have to understand, Spike. People love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You remember that, right?
Yeah, I had to, before we started to shoot, I got on a plane and went to Chicago, meet with Minister Farrakhan. Because I had to be like, yo, you know, we couldn't have the fruit roll up on set. So we talked, we sat down, and interestingly enough, you know, he really wasn't concerned about how we portrayed Malcolm. He's just concerned about how we're going to portray the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then he gave me a look. that look meant.
He said, my arms are only so long, Spike. I can't reach everyone. You know, there's zealots out there.
Did you have this sense of humor about it at the time?
What?
Like, how did you manage? How did you focus on the project and what you needed to do when there was so much pressure on the two of you with regard to how you would represent Malcolm, how you would represent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I fear God, not man, period. I fear God, not man. No man on this planet. I fear God. I'm here to serve God. What you saw was God coming through me as Malcolm X. What you saw in Glory was God coming through me. All I did in Malcolm X was pray to God. All I did in Glory was pray to God and pray for 400 years of slaves to inhabit my body and spirit and to speak for them. That's what.
But you're leaving out something. That tear.
What tear?
In Glory.
No. That's from the outside. God works on the inside. The enemy is the inner me. You understand? Does that make sense to anybody? That comes from the inside. Everything I've done, everything you see, is by the grace of God. And that's not even why I'm here. That's not what God put me on this planet to do. That's just what I've done so that I can begin to do what it is I'm really supposed to do.
I was on a mission, so simple as that. I mean, I read that book in junior high school, and that's, to this day, the most important book and my favorite book I've ever read.
Mine too.
Yes.
And Sid Arthur I like too.
Spike, you wrote a book about the making of this film. You referred to the trials and tribulations of making this film. There were a lot of challenges that you faced, including your desire to make this into the kind of epic that studio was resistant to give you the budget that you needed. Could you share with folks sort of what was happening as you were trying to complete this film?
Well, the unsung hero of this is a producer named Marvin Worth, who bought the rights from the late, great Dr. Bay Shabazz many, many years ago. And he's been trying to make it for years. And also, I got to give a shout out to Norman Jewison, because Norman, it was his film. And, you know, we had a conversation, and he gracefully bowed out. He didn't have to do that because it was, Denzel was in it, playing Malcolm X, and Norman Jewison was directing it. So, again, shout out to Norman Jewison, because he did not have to do that.
You were very vocal at the time that it was important that a black director have this project and that you were the black director to direct this project. Is that what you said to Norman?
I said that?
I could quote some things.
Look, I was driven to direct this film. I mean, let's just leave it at that.
Yes. Another amazing thing that Spike did was when you were doing the press for this film, you said you would talk to black reporters, and some news outlets had to find reporters, hire them to talk to you about this project. It was a very powerful thing for you.
Well, I just knew that this could easily be slanted with reviews and the articles that come out before the movie to promote the film. I just felt that African-American journalists would have a different feeling about the film. And so I just said, you gotta find some black journalists, if you want to get interviewed. And we also I also said to the chagrin Mayor David Dinkins, I said, don't go to school on the day it opened. And I said, let me be a class trip.
The school should be closed. It should be a
I didn't say closed. I just said parents take kids to the movie. Or as a class trip. I had a class trip to see Gone with the Motherfucking Wind. And they did not, faculty, teachers not tell us You know, what the blacks didn't, they didn't prep us for that. We was a class trip to see Gone with the Wind. Public school in Brooklyn. Gone with the Wind. And we were embarrassed. We were like 5th grade. I mean, we were shook just watching, you know, that imagery, and it wasn't, nobody put any historical, you know, context. They just put us in the theater.
I want to talk about a couple of scenes in this movie. This film has one of the most powerful uses of the double dolly shot that you have ever done. This is when a character is sort of moving through space. You'll see this.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
Ernest Dickerson, first of all, Ernest and I met our first year in when you graduated film school. Ernest went to HU. You know Howard University, and I went to Morehouse, so we connected right away. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but the first double dolly shot was in Mo Better Blues. And then we used it again in Jungle Fever. And then Ernest and I, we had come to understanding that we're not in film school anymore. We're not in film school anymore, so if we're gonna use this shot, it has to be motivated. And that is the best, I think, use of the double dolly shot. With the great help of the great Sam Cooke. But the structure came from Godfather 2, where at the end, you know, stuff happens. So we have Denzel riding to Malcolm X riding to the Audubon Ballroom with Betty Shabazz being driven by the fruit to the Audubon Ballroom. And if you look closely, you can see that the CIA, FBI, they're in the shot when Malcolm's driving. And then we had the assassins from the mosque in Newark, New Jersey. And then that, every time, I mean, that scene still, you know, shakes me. Oh, here's the thing though, I just remembered this. The reason why I knew I had to put the double dolly shot there is because the late great Dr. Betty Shabazz told me she thought that Malcolm knew he was gonna be assassinated. That she told this to me, my mother's great, she said this to me. She felt that he wanted to be a martyr. So she told me that. I'm like, how are we gonna convey that? And I think the double dolly shot here helps. And then when, what's her name? Jesus loves you.
Oh, shoot.
What's the actor's name? What?
Francis Foster.
Yeah, Francis Foster. And then the song ends, and Jesus will protect you. Jesus will pray for you. So it was just to put Jesus in there at that moment. But
He was in there long before that, partner.
yeah. I was not gonna debate Malcolm's widow. She told me this. So that's how the double dolly shot came to be for that scene.
My mother used to do Betty Shabazz's hair, by the way. She lived in Mount Vernon. My mother was a musician.
Wow. This movie is so epic, powerful. There's also an amazing musical number in this film. And the two of you are dancing, we'll see, doing the Lindy Hop. It's like you had done school Days, which had musical numbers inspired by MGM musicals. This one is just spectacular. And I was hoping that you might share some of your memories of making that scene
I
because
mean, if you watch, Denzel could dance.
yes,
You could Denzel.
Teresa was nervous, right? I was throwing her around.
Yeah, you're Teresa Randall. But we really want what we wanted to do. Again, I go back to my brother Ernest Dickerson. Before we were in pre-production, there was a re-release, a restoration of Lawrence of Arabia, directed by the great David Lean at the Ziegfeld. And Ernest and I were there, and we said, we got to do some David Lean stuff. You know, we're talking about Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge of River Kwai, Dr. Zhivago. You know, we wanted this to be epic. Epic. And it is. Can I just real quick?
yes.
All right, as you know, as I said before, this is a 7mm print, and we have some very key people who are a part of this. Now, the team was formed really, and she's got to have it, the team. So, part of the team, can you please stand up, a graduate of Canton University, cast and director Robbie Reed, stand up.